Yeah, so thank you for letting me record this. So Matt, our producer, will come on the show in just a couple minutes, and he love how Zoom makes my hair like disappear.
I
Um,
know.
he will come on the show and he will do a sound check with you, make sure your sound quality is top notch, which it sounds pretty good to me, so I don't think that should be an issue. I will start with the topic description as my opening statement. And then I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about who you are.
Mhm.
And then we will go into the part one, the problem, and part two is after the break. We'll talk about the solution.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds
So,
good.
yeah,
Do you
wonderful.
prefer to be called, how do you like to be addressed? That's probably
Fazia, just Fazia. And how do you like to be called? What do you
Jeanine.
prefer? Just Jeanine? Okay.
Yeah. Fazia. Okay.
And your last name is Thompson, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I always joke. I said, you can call me anything as long as you say it with love, I'll answer.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like,
I know. And most people call me Jeannie, or Jeanine's
yeah,
not very common either. So it doesn't matter to me.
yeah, that's okay. All right. So Matt should be here in a few minutes to do, it's hit or miss depending on when his last show kind of wraps up.
Yeah. Is this show live?
It is.
Okay, it wasn't clear in my instructions that I got from my team, so I never know for sure what's pre-recorded, what's live. Okay.
I do offer the option of pre-recording, but I prefer it to be live. There's a different energy when it's live.
Yeah.
When it's recorded, people kind of relax a little bit, thinking they can fix problems if there's any. If it's live, they usually are just right on it, and I just get a better show.
Yeah.
And to be honest, being on the radio is like probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done, because I am such an introvert.
Yes.
And so when I started the radio show the first time, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. And so now that I'm comfortable doing it, I try to make my guests as comfortable as possible, which is why I like the Zoom, which is, it feels like you're just talking one-on-one. There's nobody else here. And
Yeah.
so we kind of just ignore the audience.
Yeah.
And it seems to work really well. So, yeah.
I prefer to be able to see somebody too. They can look you in the eyes and we can have a dialogue, and it's just so much better than I have done some live radio just through the landline because of the connection, is good. But boy, do I just miss as much human, touch and contact as possible.
Right. It's the next best thing to being in person.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I really like Zoom. I never thought I'd be this happy with Zoom, but I am.
Yeah, I know, right? There's been some good things out of the last several years. Like it did flip our paradigms that we likely would not have changed on our own. And that's true from Medicare to Medicaid to, across a number of systems. Sometimes we just don't change until, it's unavoidable.
For me, I wanted to change my business. I have several things that I do. I have a magazine, I have the radio show, and then I have a coaching business. And so my coaching business, I'd wanted to switch it over to a remote format so that I could be more flexible in my life, in my personal life.
Nice.
And when COVID hit, it gave me that opportunity because nobody wanted to come in the office.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, this is it. This is my opportunity.
There
and I really
go.
I really try not to look at things as problems. I really try to look at things as opportunities. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is my opportunity. So I made the switch. It went seamlessly. It was perfect. Saved me a ton of money that I didn't have to spend in an office. I sold all the furniture. It was absolutely wonderful. And I moved from Arizona to Florida, and then now I'm in Virginia.
Oh, you're in Virginia. Okay.
I am. And my business hasn't skipped a beat.
Oh my gosh, how beautiful is that? I've traveled a lot, but I haven't been to Virginia. But what I'm struck by, I've got some friends in this prayer group I'm in, and they, the geography is so beautiful with the density of the trees and the mountains, and I mean, really beautiful.
You know, we moved here kind of out of, it was a fluke actually. My a couple of years ago, I was taking care of my uncle, and then he passed away. And then right after he passed away, my dad got sick, and then he passed away. Then my aunt passed away. So within like a year and a half, I had 3 significant people in my family die. And then my mom just kind of freaked out. She's like, that's it. I'm moving to Florida. I said, Mom, you have health issues. You can't move to Florida. And she's like, well, you can come with me. And I thought, okay, it was right around the time that I switched my business over to online. And I said, okay. So I packed up her house, packed up my house, got rid of everything that we didn't really have emotional ties to. And we moved to Florida. And then she fell and injured herself twice, very badly.
Oh.
And then I got radon poisoning, and I thought I was dying. And so I'm like, I can't take care of you if I'm not healthy. So I called my aunt who lives in Virginia, and I said, you know, can we just come there? That way, if something happens to me, my mom is still taken care of. And I called my brother in Arizona, and he's like, yeah, just send Mom back. I'll take care of her. She didn't want to go back to Arizona. I said, okay, Virginia it is. So we packed up just a little overnight bag, and we spent like 3 nights on the road and came to Virginia. And within a month, we bought a house, and I told her, I said, you can't live on your own anymore. You need help like every day. So now my mom lives with me. I said, my life has changed so much in the last year, but I live 1.5 miles from like 4 beaches.
Oh.
And so I get up in the morning, go for a walk on the beach, and I start my work whenever I want. And I've got the radio show and the magazine and the coaching business, and I can do all 3 from anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, how beautiful. So, and nature's a big part of my life. It was a big part of my book. I to be able to start the day in that exquisite beauty and awe and wonder it's just the best ever.
Well, absolutely. I call nature the great reset button.
Yeah.
You could have the worst mood. You could have the worst day. You go outside, and the trees, the beach, not the birds, they don't care. They're still singing and having a great day.
Yeah.
You know, and it kind of puts that mindset of, okay, I can still work with this. Let's look at what's the opportunity in this situation. And it just flips, and life is better.
I know. Yeah. So good.
Yeah. I was telling my daughter this morning, I'm like, I've been here a year, and I said, the only thing I can complain about is I don't have the social network that I had before.
Yeah.
But that's like the only thing that's truly like not here in my life. That's not a bad life, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's been a year, and probably an extraordinarily busy year. So you've only just begun, you know?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's life is interesting. You know, if you really focus on the good, then good things really do happen.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a vibrational world. We know that, and we get to control the signals we send out, and
absolutely,
and what we draw in. So for sure.
Absolutely.
But also,
and I think
it's pretty magical. You know, the truth is, we spend so much time worrying about, is this the right decision? Where should I be? Da, 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 da. And there's just a bigger plan, you know, and we're going to be, you know, supported and drawn to where
exactly.
Yeah.
You are so right. Yeah. I think once I came to that realization, I stopped worrying about things. It's like, then it just became with, okay, it didn't work, but what did I learn?
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, good morning, Fossie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
I'd like you to meet Jeanine, and Jeanine, I'd like you to meet Matt, my wonderful producer.
Hi, Matt. Pleased to meet you.
Yep. Hi, Jeanine. How are you doing today?
I'm great. And yourself?
Doing good. Doing good. All right. Jeanine, really quickly, are you using an external mic hookup, or is it just the internal on your computer?
No, I use a Yeti mic, external mic.
Okay, let's get that set up so it's sounding a little bit better. It sounds a little roomy. It might be too far away or on the wrong setting or
Okay.
something. Let's see. Make
Let's bring
sure
it closer. Is that better?
kind of still roomy. So the Yeti mic is got some settings on it and on the back side of it. So it's just you. So you probably want the setting on the back side to be the one that kind of looks like a heart.
And that is where we're at. Let me
Okay,
just
perfect.
check
All right,
my-
so that's the back side of the mic. So turn it so the other side is facing
Yep.
you. Okay. All right, and then do me a favor, just kind of tap on the microphone. Make sure it's. I want to, or just like kind of move it around. I want to see if it makes any noise. Okay, I'm not hearing that.
Let me
So
just check something here.
yeah, we'll go into the Zoom settings and make sure it's selected.
No, we are on Yeti. Let me just turn up the volume a bit and see. Usually I don't have any issues with this, so. Okay, is this any better?
Yeah, I'm hearing you good. It's a little roomy, but I think it's on. So I am hearing you clearly. Just with that mic, the closer it is to you, the better it usually sounds. So.
All right, we'll get it even closer for you. How is that?
Yeah, that's good right there. Perfect. All right, thank you. Fozzie,
Okay.
go ahead and come back for 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, sounding great.
Thank you. I love compliments.
Nice way to start, isn't it?
All right.
You didn't even know you were complimenting me, right?
We've got about a minute and 30 and we'll get started.
All right, thanks, Matt. All right, so if you at any point, if at any point we start talking about something that you really don't want to talk about, just say, hey, that's for another time, and we'll skip it and move on. I don't want to put you in any situation where you're feeling uncomfortable. And then feel free to talk as much as you want. We have a full hour.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Really sorry. My voice is so scratchy today. I think my allergies are.
Yeah, they said it was going to be just with all the weather patterns all over. It was going to be quite the year for people who have allergies, quite the spring.
Yeah, I noticed this morning I'm drinking so much tea and I'm like, why is my voice like this? Okay. Hopefully it'll clear up as we get going.
It sounds great.
Does it? Okay.
It does. It does loud and clear and
okay, good. That's good. Thank you. And Zoom decides to make me disappear. I love the floating hand.
well, I'm on the Apple Studio, so if I switch, it moves. It's got its own. It tracks everything, which it can be like just a bit weird sometimes.
Yeah.
So I move. I'm like, time out. I don't want the camera over there.
That's hilarious.
All right, well, we are at showtime. I'm going to send the feed your way. Have a good show.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
Welcome to Focus on Success with Fozzie Acosti. Our program is designed to help you with executive function challenges. Our guest experts offer perspective, experience, and ideas to improve different aspects of your life. Now, here is your host, Fozzie Acosti.
Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Fozzie Acosti, and today we are speaking with Jeanine Thompson. And before I introduce her, I want to know, are you searching for that elusive something missing? Do you feel an urgency that time is clicking by too fast? And if you don't crack that code on your life, you'll have regrets? Are parts of your life thriving less than you sense is possible, completely off course, or turned upside down? Do your global unfoldings feel overwhelming? All around us, life seems to be turning upside down. So enter the great search. What is going on? Who am I? These are questions we'll all ask ourselves, and the answer is closer than it might seem. So welcome, Jeanine, to the show.
Thank you. I am delighted to be with you and your listeners.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really excited to talk to you because you have a very unique perspective. But before we start talking about the human experience, I'd like our listeners to know a little bit more about you. Could you talk a little bit about you and your background and share your lovely history?
I will indeed. Thank you. It's been an eclectic professional history, to say the least. For a decade, I was an evidence-based psychotherapist treating anxiety disorders, OCD, and the like. The next 12 years, I was in business in a variety of roles, predominantly as the head of international HR. And then I went on my own search, which we'll talk about at some point. And that led me to Reiki and spiritual growth and spiritual seeking. So it's been this career that seems divergent, but at the core of my coaching, writing, and speaking today, people come to me because there's a gap in what they're experiencing and what they believe is possible for their life, whether it presents as a yearning or restlessness, or maybe some aspect of their familiar identity has been stripped away or shaken, health, relationships, etc. Or they just know another level of success in their career is possible. They come to me because what they're used to in terms of their success solutions, they're no longer working, and they cannot figure it out. They're usually great problem solvers, and I teach them through both science and evidence-based practices and soul-infused strategies to tap into potential that most of us leave on the table every day. And it is this potential, this inner wisdom that will lead your listeners to the peace and joy and fulfillment they're really seeking.
Well, can you talk us through that potential? What is that potential? Give us an example if you don't mind.
Sure. So most of us, like myself, when I was an evidence-based psychotherapist, and even as a Fortune 50 executive, I would go to best practices, and I would say, what are best practices for whatever it might be, productivity, innovation, etc. So I was always going external, and most of those best practices, although they certainly serve an important purpose, they're always external. They're using our mind. And the greater potential of who we are exists in our other two brains, because we have three brains: our gut brain, our heart brain, and our head brain. And infinite wisdom, any answers that you might be searching for, the solutions you're searching for, they're actually better discerned through our heart brain and our gut brain.
Wow, thank you so much for explaining that. It's truly fascinating. I've been interviewing quite a lot of interesting people, and this is the first time I've heard the three different brains. Right. So I find it fascinating. If you don't mind elaborating more on that, I would love to hear more.
Absolutely. So the gut brain is one of instinct and survival. And very often your listeners, we use our gut brain all the time. We just didn't know it was an actual brain, and so that's kind of the I sense brain. The heart brain, per science, is described as the brain of affect, or the I feel brain. But our spiritual teachers would say that it's also the mystical heart, where we have access to wisdom and infinite intelligence right within our being today. And then the head brain, of course, is the I think brain, the analytical and the cognitive. And it is a myth buster for most of us. None of us were ever taught that we have three brains. And we're often
I
taught the
think
opposite. If you think about it, we're often taught, use your head, figure it out. And actually, data would say that 70 to 80% of information actually flows upward from the gut to the heart to the head brain. So it's literally the opposite of what we've been trained. And the art is using the three brains in concert. So we truly can use the best of each of these brains.
wow, that's impressive. Thank you for sharing that. It's very interesting. I'm gonna have to research that a little bit more.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So let's talk I want to split up the show into two segments. And like we talked about before, I want to talk a little bit about the quote unquote problem. And then the second half, we'll talk about the solution to those problems. So let's talk a little bit about, why is searching a universal part of the human experience? Why do we need that search?
You know, I think that, first of all, we've been trained to search for the next thing. I think about it, even since kindergarten, we're always, on a search for, when we're in kindergarten, we think first grade is going to be like the greatest, right? When we get out of elementary school, we want to get to high school because that's going to be better. When we're done with high school, we think, oh, we're going to get a job, and then that's going to be better. So I think in many ways, we've been trained to always be on a search, that we will be happy when I get this education, when I get this relationship, when the debt is paid, etc. And most of us, there's, I think, been a pretty prescribed formula for the definition of success that we were all enculturated in. And the truth is that while a job, while a relationship, while maybe the house, the accoutrements, all those things that many people think of are, success, while they can lead to satisfaction and fulfillment on one level, there'll come a time in each of your listeners' lives where all of that stuff, many of my clients come to me and they're like, Jeanine, I just no longer have the same juice. Like, what is wrong? Like, I followed the program, I went to school, or I got the job, I worked for the promotions, I did this, I did that, I got the house, and something's still missing. Why is that? And I think it's because the external search will never give you your inner answers on what's going to give you peace and fulfillment and meaning in your life.
What do people normally find when they find peace? What gives them that peace?
Well, I think that that's a question that can only be answered by each individual, right? As I'm working with clients, or as the listeners start learning how to tune in, and we'll talk about that in the second part of the show.
Okay.
As you start to tune inward, what peace means to each individual is unique. So part of what I have them do is even just ask, like, what does fulfillment look like for me?
Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Where do people primarily look for answers? You talked a little bit about, when I get the next job, when I get the next piece of education, but is that the only thing they look for, or are there other things as well?
Well, I think to answer the first question, where do they look? I think most of us are trained to look outside of us. Let's go to an expert. Let's go to a class. Let's go somewhere else. And all of those take us outside of ourselves.
Right.
the invitation actually is what I call the beauty of the and. You know, I still love science. That's how I learned about the three brains. And I call it soul. Some people might call it entelechy. You know, Aristotle said it was the entelechy is a seed of potential or realization. It's the entelechy of a caterpillar to become a butterfly. It's the entelechy of an acorn seed to become an oak tree. So all of your listeners too have this seed of potential. And that fundamentally is the search. At some point, life comes knocking on your door and says, there's a greater possibility for your life. And often that comes masquerading as the details of challenge or crisis, but really it's an invitation to turn back inward.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I think it gives our listeners quite a bit to think about because, you know, you're right. We tend to look outward, but to shift that knowledge and start looking inward and finding out that you have more potential than you thought you did, I think is quite a breakthrough.
Well, it really is. And I think people will be surprised that the heart speaks. And they each will have their own unique language in which their inner wisdom reveals itself. But that will give you the kind of the vision, if you will, and the picture and next right actions. And we're certainly going to engage our head brain, right, to take steps and etc. But wow, once we stop asking others for our answers, we reconnect with vital pieces of ourselves we've lost along the way. In our functioning, in our efforts to try and be successful, in our efforts to try and be happy, we've actually lost connection with ourselves.
Interesting. Are there any limitations to this approach that you offer your clients when you're coaching with them?
Limitations to tuning inward?
Yes.
Yeah. No. There isn't, because there's actually only one expert that's going to know your answer. And that's actually yourself. You can call it higher self. You can call it soul. For some, they have a connection to God or the universe and source. So I always say it's source within us, around us in life via nature and all sorts of symbolism, and then beyond us, a power greater than us. We're not doing this Earth School gig on our own. Thank goodness. We're always supported, but I don't think there is a single limitation of turning inward. I think what people do at times, though, Fozzie, is that they don't trust themselves. So they might only listen to part of an answer or act on part of a guidance and then say, wait a minute, you know, this didn't turn out the way it was supposed to. I can't trust my heart. But if we actually tune in and take even a small step towards alignment with higher guidance, I believe that when we take one step, the universe offers us 10 steps to help give us air under our wings.
Can you give me an example of how this would work for somebody, like when something changes within them, how it starts to manifest externally?
Sure. So I think one of the ways that it can manifest externally is that they are living more congruently day to day. A lot of people actually have dreams sown in their hearts or wonderings. I wonder what it'd be like if I could do this and that, but they don't do it because it wasn't either aligned with their prescribed pathway of success, or maybe it wasn't supported in their family, or maybe they yet didn't have a belief in themselves that they could make it happen. And so a lot of times what I see when people start to live the beauty of the and, spend some time in silence, create a relationship with your soulful self and listen to that inner wisdom, they start to feel more fully alive. They start to reconnect with that part of themselves that maybe has been sitting on the back burner now for decades. You know, many of us have had these ideas, wishes, hopes sown in our hearts, but we let life get too loud and drowned them out.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. Where should we really be turning for answers in our search? If we're looking for specific answers and we don't want to look outward, how do we search for those answers?
Well, I think I use the phrase before, the beauty of the and. So I never think it is just one or the other. I don't think we can just spend, 10 hours a day in meditation or out in nature, tuning into ourselves as awareness and
Right.
about all this higher wisdom, and then sit on the couch and go, okay, life, make it happen, right? So
Right.
I think what I'm proposing here is the beauty of the and. Tune inward each day. Ask, how does life want to move through me? What do I want out of life? And let those answers marinate. And when you start to get a little whisper, when you start to, get some definition and color, then let's do the beauty of the and. Then you might do some more research on, oh, you know what? I think I should open up this business I've been thinking about. Then I might, of course, explore, what are the fundamentals of, opening up an LLC or, whatever it might be. So it's an and. Inward is our most expansive, creative, personal answers and map for our life. But then we're asked to live outward in the world, so it's a beauty of the and.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, it does actually. I know we said that we would start part 2 after the break, but if you're open to it, I'd like to start talking a little bit more about the solution portion of this conversation. Would you be agreeable to that? Okay.
We can wherever we'll make it work.
Let's just work with it. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. So what happens when the search goes unsatisfied for too long? A lot of people have these ideas in their head, and like you said, they marinate over for decades sometimes.
Yeah.
What happens when they're just unsatisfied?
Well, when we get whispers and we ignore them for whatever it is, days, months, or decades, eventually life will get louder. I think life will show up with an easy love note, like, you get a curiosity about something. That's an invitation to explore it. Go explore it. Doesn't mean you have to act on it in this second. But most of us, like ourselves, our soul gives us clues long in advance before life is going to get really loud in most cases, right? So for me, I remember I was on a vacation in Mexico, and I was a Fortune 50 exec, and I heard myself say to one of my best friends, someday I'm going to leave this job. Like, I just know there's something more. Honestly, it was like something was speaking through me. I loved my job. I loved my family. I had no intention of leaving. And yet it was very clear. And I almost dropped my cocktail on the floor at the time. I was so surprised. And every night I would wake up at 3:33 a.m. in the morning saying, there's something more for you. There's something more for you.
Interesting.
I kept pushing it aside.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to gratitude it away. I thought, oh my goodness, Jeanine, just be grateful, honey. You have got so many things to be grateful. So I tried to gratitude it away. I tried to travel it away. Like, we try all these other things, right? Thinking that thing is going to, but it only got louder. And then there's always a shakeup in our life. When we do not live our internal truths out loud, when we do not live in congruence with our values, what we know to be true about ourselves, what we're discovering about ourselves, a shakeup's going to happen. Sometimes the shakeup is quiet. You know, it's internal. It's the restlessness. You're not sleeping. It's the self-punishing when you should be happy, but you're not. For other people, it's more externally visible. A relationship is very strained or falls apart. You get a health scare. Your job changes out of the blue. Like some part of your identity just gets shaken or stripped away, right? So it can be quiet or it can be loud. But at the core of it, life is saying how you're living needs to shift.
Right.
You're ready for another level of growth. You may not feel like it. You may not even have a clue how you're going to get through this, but you're going to come to know a part of yourself, maybe hidden skills that you never knew you had, maybe a creative talent. I mean, there is this trove of jewels that exist in our inner potential, and that will be revealed in the struggle. Most of us, and it doesn't have to be this way, oftentimes I will hear, or at least from my humble perspective, oftentimes I will hear people say, you know, blank's got to hit the fan before, you know, somebody changes, or it's you got to hit rock bottom before it changes. I actually think that that's a myth.
I agree with you. I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I think, but here's the flip of it. And this is an important nuance. Although I don't think that's energetically true, like you and I could make a decision, and so could each of your listeners today.
Right.
Like, I am going to shift this, and they could instantaneously. Change can occur instantaneously. But the truth is, most of us get complacent when life is working. Even if we're not even all that thrilled with it, even if we're no longer happy, we are a pain avoidant society. So
yeah, I'm laughing because I've done that.
Right? We don't want to rock the boat. We do not want to, and there's a trade-off. Sometimes in the pursuit of congruence, something we know we're meant to live, something we know we're meant to offer back in service to this great earth, might upset the apple cart temporarily in other parts of our life, might not be met with, oh, congratulations, go for it. It might be the opposite. Like, are you nuts? When I left my Fortune 50 job to begin my search, people are like, you've got the perfect life. What is wrong with you? And that's why I ignored it for a long time too. I'm like, well, they're right. What is wrong with me? You know, so I think there's always going to be a bit of a trade-off, but your heart's yearning is your soul's will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your heart's yearning is your soul's will. If you're hearing a whisper, it means it deserves further curiosity, further attention, further awareness. Life is actually speaking to us all day long. We are getting hundreds of love notes saying, you never travel alone. I've got your back. I'm with you. Notice this. Pay attention to that quote. Notice that song on the radio. Listen to that line in that book. Like, there's 1,000 different love notes a day, and we're so busy functioning. You know, for me, I was a single mom. So it was like, oh my gosh, up at 5 o'clock, get everything ready for school, take a business meeting before we got the kids to the school, ding, 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 ding.
Right.
I literally was functioning in life, but I was not living fully alive. I didn't wake up fire in the morning. Like, now I wake up and I'm like, oh, How can I fall in love with life today? Like, what's this gig going to be about today? You know?
Yeah. No, I love the joy that you bring to it. You know,
Yeah.
somebody once said to me, if you don't listen to the whispers, you'll be forced to listen to the screams.
That's what I'm saying. It
And
can,
yeah, it can be dramatic. It can actually be very dramatic.
it
Yeah.
absolutely can. And there's no doubt. I call them 911s from your soul. Like I said, sometimes they're quiet and perhaps nobody else knows the quiet desperation that you're on. Sometimes it's visible to others. Sometimes it's instantaneous.
Right.
Something so tragic or sad happens and you couldn't have seen it coming. You couldn't
Well,
have known, you know?
yeah. No, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. We need to go to a break in a couple minutes. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you, how could they do that?
Sure. You can find me at my website, JeanineThompson.net. JeanineThompson.net. I'm on Facebook, Jeanine Thompson LLC, and Instagram _Jeanine Thompson_.
And we will have a banner for you on our website. So if somebody did want to connect with you, they can go directly to your website. And that banner should be up in the next week or so. And if you're looking to get in touch with me, you can go to my website, executivefunctioncoachaz.com. You can subscribe to our magazine, Executive Function Magazine, and our next issue comes out the 10th of March. So if you'd like to get a copy, now would be a great time to subscribe. And if you are interested in being a guest on the show, you can connect with me also through the website, or if you'd like a free consultation, shoot me an email or give me a call at 480-648-1122. And we'll be back after these messages. Thank you for listening.
Okay, excellent. All clear. Back in
All
about
right.
2.
Thanks, Matt.
Mhm.
All right. I hope it's been going well for you, Jeanine. I apologize. My voice is just very scratchy today.
You know what? I am not noticing your voice at all. So
Might be my internal hearing my voice when I'm
yeah,
hearing it. It just sounds so rough.
well,
Okay.
that always messes me up when I had the microphones too. I'm like, wait a minute, it sounds different.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the headphones, but if I don't wear them, then it does mess up the audio. But anyway, we'll get through it. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the souls, the 911.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk about your book. What is the name of your book?
911 from your soul.
Yeah, I think that might be a really good way to transition.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so I've got some of these questions. We'll talk about those and we'll talk about your book. And then we can also close off with how somebody can get in touch with you if they're interested in being a client.
Yeah.
Or if they'd like to have you speak at an event. What kind of events do you speak at?
Oh my gosh. The range is pretty big from,
Okay.
Senior leaders to inspirational talks to it's been
Okay.
through the years, it's been high potential, high performance. It's been pretty vast.
That's awesome. So you have a huge range. I love it.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
the beauty of the end. I love it. I love high performance and I love soul. I love joy and I don't love the pain, but I understand the gift of the pain.
Right.
We're human. We're divine.
Right.
Like,
they're tied together. You can't separate the two.
no, you really can't. And it is, it's just the beautiful dance of life. And we get to create the tapestry.
A beautiful way of putting it. Yeah. Very
All right,
nice.
coming back in about 12 seconds.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
You are listening to Focus on Success. To reach Fozzie Acosti or her guest on the live show, please call 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. You may also send an email to fazia@executivefunctioncoachaz.com. Now, back to Focus on Success.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Fazia Costi, and today we are speaking with Jeanine Thompson. Welcome back, Jeanine.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying our conversation, and I'd like to continue talking a little bit more about the solutions. So let's talk about your Soul 911. What is that?
Yeah, I coined that term 911 from your soul. I wrote my book in a forest by my house. And that in and of itself is a magical story. And your listeners, I encourage them to go to my website. You're going to see some pretty incredible pictures. There was this wood table in the middle of a forest, which was a block from my house that for 3 years I didn't even know existed. And so that's one way inner wisdom shows up. I had been meditating and praying for a writing retreat, and I thought, oh, I might go to San Francisco to Muir Woods. I might go to Washington. And a neighbor I had never walked with before asked me to go on a walk. And she took me past a dead end, and I never went through it. I had passed it literally over 300 times because I walk at least twice a day. And she took me on the path. And the next day I thought, I'm going to go on the road less traveled. There was no pavement there. And I got to the bottom. I got to the bottom and I looked up at this giant hill and I went, I think that there's a table in the middle of this forest. I'm like, oh, Jeanine, for crying out loud, there cannot be a table in the woods. Sure enough, it's this gorgeous wooden table. And that's where I wrote my book, by tuning inward every day and listening how life wanted to move through me so that other people could reignite their own light and potential and love.
I love it. That's fantastic. And since we're talking about your book, where could somebody get a copy?
Excuse me. You were talking about a scratchy throat. Now I think we've shared a bit. I'm going to take a little drink here. Excuse me.
Yeah, I apologize. I did not mean to give you my scratchy throat.
I'm totally teasing. It just means we're in good resonance here.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So you can find my book, 911 from Your Soul, on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. That is true for your international listeners as well, the Amazon piece. Also your local bookstores. I love supporting local community stores. So just go in and it's in the Ingram catalog and they can order it. So
awesome.
however you find it, if this is speaking to you today, I think that this is a book of remembering the truth of who we are, the fullness of who we are in both our humanity and our divinity, in our joy and in our pain. And I think it will enliven a whole new way of living fully alive in this world that needs all of us right now to shine as bright as we can.
That's fantastic. So there you go. 911 from Your Soul by Jeanine Thompson. Make sure you get your copy today. I think it's going to be a fantastic read and hopefully change your life. That would be fantastic, for the better, obviously. For the better. So let's talk a little bit about that 911 from your soul. Let's talk a little bit about, like, how did you know that, how does somebody know that that's what they're experiencing?
Sure. So I'm going to have your listeners, if it's safe for them to do so, just close your eyes right now and listen and see if any of these are resonant. And if you're in the car or on the train or wherever you might be, just listen. So one of the ways that a 911 from your soul shows up is that you feel lost, like unsure about the trajectory of your life, and your traditional resources or problem solving or everything that's maybe helped you get through or succeed in the past is not working. A second is that the things that used to bring you joy fall flat. You just don't have the same juice for those things. For many, they'll say, something's missing. I don't know what it is, but they're restless. Whenever they're somewhere, They feel like they should be somewhere else, and they're just not happy. Some hop from opportunity to opportunity to opportunity. They're
Right.
sure that this next thing is going to be the thing where they're finally going to be happy, you know? Very often there's an underpinning of something being stripped away or shaken, as I had mentioned before, a health challenge, relationship, career, child, like some aspect of a role that was an important part of your life gets tipped upside down, right? For many, it's playing small. They know they're being invited, called, begged internally to get out and to live their truth out loud. This is who I am. This is what I've been through. Maybe you relate, and you're just asked to speak your truth out loud, but you're hiding out because you're afraid. You're afraid that you might be judged by your friends or family or social media. You might be rejected, you know? And I would say the last kind of presentation, or not the last, but another category is people are feeling urgency. It's like, I hear this all the time. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it's May. How did we get to 2023? It just seems like, 5 years ago was 7 days ago. Like there's this urgency of time, and it's almost looking forward to the legacy. And they're like, wow, like, did it matter? Did I matter? Is how I invested my time and who I was being in the world, like, did it matter? And so there's no neat one buttoned up definition. There are nearly 7 billion of us, beautiful lights of expression in the world. There can't be one presentation, but they usually are somewhere in that arena. And at the core of all of it, you are being asked to reconnect with your own truths, to stop living by what the world tells you is the truth. And a lot of it, they're simply behind on, even as we learned with science. My goodness, the first gut brain was written in 1907. And we could argue our ancestors knew it thousands of years before that, in terms of the spiritual heart having infinite knowledge. And so it's just an invitation. It's going to masquerade as a blow up or a shake up, or this isn't fair, it isn't right, I've worked hard, I tried to do the right things, da 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 da. But if we can just sit back and be silent, like silent is the most powerful tool that any of your listeners can ever develop. And in that stillness, your truth will speak.
Wow. Is this a book that you think would be better? Would somebody who's maybe just graduated from high school or college, would they benefit just as much as somebody who maybe has been in the workforce for 10 years and doesn't quite know where they're going?
Here's what has been so fun and so delightful for me. At the core of the book are what I call 7 key spiritual principles, the soul solution.
Okay.
And they are soul, mind, heart, body, gratitude, service, and love. So I'll give you an example of one. I direct my mind in service of my soul. And then I teach the reader, there's an earth view. We have 70,000 thoughts a day. So there's an earth view, and our mind in the earth view usually sounds like, why did I say this? Why didn't I do this? I should have seen it coming. It's more critical, right? Generally speaking, it's not enough. We could have done something better. The soul view of mind says, you've got this. The answer's 12 inches away. Just a few breaths, just a little bit of silence. You've got this. And so and then I have the beauty of the and. How do we live our soul view, our highest potential, while we're navigating earth school as souls in a wonder suit of a body? We're in this earth school, I call it the earth gig. And what has been delightful for me is that I'm hearing from 20-year-olds going, oh my God, this is like my daily blueprint. Like I sense this, but you gave me language and these statements like guide my daily interaction. So I feel like I'm showing up like a better human being. I didn't even know I had this whole potential. We never learned about it in high school. We never learned about it from our parents or college or our jobs. So I'm hearing from 20-year-olds. I had somebody, I forget if she was 83 or 85, and was recounting to me what peace she experienced, because this isn't a book about just reading. This is a book where there's tangible practices after every chapter. And I tell people, reading is only partially beneficial. Get your journal out, do every single one of the practices. And I promise you, by the time you get done, with the end of the book, you'll be like, you will have learned something pretty amazing about yourself. Maybe your confidence will have gone up, maybe new skills, maybe a clear direction, maybe forgiveness. I don't know what will happen, but I'm seeing from 20s into the 80s, I don't think it's about age. I think it is about an openness, because we are not taught that the invisible holds more power than the visible. So if we go back to the beauty of the and, we are human and we're divine. We will have joy in our life and we will have pain. We learn through the visible, what we know with our 5 senses, what's been proven in best practices, the familiar. And now we've got this whole trove of unlimited invisible wisdom. We got this whole trove of invisible support every day. I mean, we could just step outside for a moment and breathe in the life force of air, what our trees give us, what the water gives us, what the sun gives us. Like there is so much support in the and around us every day.
I love it. I love the fact that you see beauty in everything. And I think if everyone saw the beauty, they would be so much happier.
You know, nature, I was a kid who played in nature. I grew up in farm country. And so, you know, that's what we had, climbing trees and the local swimming pool and riding our bikes and working on the land, whether it was my grandma's gardens or walking beans, you know. And so I grew up appreciating the land. But along the way, I got disconnected with the beauty of nature. I was in a plane 200,000 to 300,000 miles a year internationally as a single mom and an executive. And I learned to function really well. Like my life was clicking on all cylinders. But every day, I forgot to pause when I left my front door and say, thank you. Like, I can't wait to see how you're going to speak to me today. Thanks for the support in advance. You know,
that's wonderful.
I forgot. And nature does that for us. The second we're on the land, our troubles become smaller. Like I can be wound up about something, man. I have not cracked the code, nor has anybody from my perspective, humble perspective. And, you know, some days I'll get wrapped up in when I'm in my head. That's always the clue. In my head, I let the 70,000 thoughts, it's on repeat. And I'm like, how should I do this? You know, and when I finally hit the pause button, say, pumpkin, let's just go a block down the road. And then I walk onto the land, and all of a sudden I do talk to the trees. I know some of your listeners are going to go, oh my gosh, she just lost me. But here's the truth. Here's the deeper truth. We're all energy. And there's so much communication that the trees, the stones, the creatures, they work in concert. They work in harmony. And if you can lose and soften your busy mind and be so present, like I love to watch the squirrels playing tag. And I love to notice what I notice. And like sometimes the trees will be thrashing and I'll say, gosh, what am I allowed to thrash in my life? You know, like nature speaks to us. And if I just pause and listen, then in the next moment, there'll be the beauty of the sun peeking through and radiating light on me, saying, you're
Right.
the light, pumpkin, you're the light. Quit all this outside game. Life is an inner game.
I absolutely agree with you. You know, I meditate at least once, sometimes twice a day. I'd like to go outside and I like to garden. I like to go to the beach. And to me, that's the great reset. It's like, it doesn't matter how tough something is. I can reset it and start over. And so it keeps me feeling grounded and happy and connected to the spirit. And it's a wonderful, wonderful way to look at life and just constantly being the student, you know, learning and evolving and trying to be the better version of myself today than I was yesterday. Am I always successful? No. But I hit that reset button again and I try again.
That's what we do.
That's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty. We
Yeah.
get to begin again and again and again and again.
Right.
We have all, Earth's school is about our evolution. It is about returning to love of ourselves. You know, most of us are so darn hard on ourselves.
That is true.
Our 70K, our inner critic is on high alert, letting us know where we haven't measured up. The outside world, if you turn on the news, open up a magazine, they don't use these words, but essentially what they're saying is you're not enough. You don't dress right. We don't eat right. We don't have the right retirement fund. Everything's blowing up around us, which is not true. There are immeasurable acts of love every day. We just have to open our eyes because we see what we look for. I always tell my clients, if you knew how powerful your words were, you would never say another negative thing to yourself again, ever. Yeah, Carolyn Myss had
They're very powerful. Yeah.
Carolyn Myss had the brilliance of saying every word is a prayer. I would go so far as saying every word is a declaration.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to invite your listeners, next time you speak out loud, I want you to ask yourself, is that what I'd like to have happen? And if not, we must, I implore you, we must change the nature of our dialogue, internal and spoken word external. So I'm not one that artificially like slaps on a happy, positive affirmation, although I love affirmations, but like if somebody's feeling exhausted, I don't want them to go, oh, I feel amazing, because they so do not. They're tired. Their kids are up in the middle of the night, or they had a project, or they just had a busy brain that wouldn't shut off. What we could say is we can get to neutral and we can even get to generative. So if somebody feels exhausted, what if they said, I cannot wait for my second wind. I look forward to my second wind. Like that, our cells can believe, because in our trillions of cells respond to our spoken and thought word.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, even if it feels like everything's been stripped away in your life and you're sitting in a dark place, I would invite you, and I teach you how to do this in the book, but I invite you to settle into the dark. And most of us want to push it away. And I'd invite you instead to say, welcome. And you might be sobbing, or maybe you're even shaking a little bit, or maybe you're just ticked off because you can't figure it out. Wherever your emotions are, say, welcome, my friend. What would you like me to know? And just sit with it. And you might hear something bubble up in that moment. You might not hear something for a week. But in the beauty of the and in light and dark, we have forgotten that dark is vital to life. It is in the dark, deep, rich soil that seeds grow. And by the way, even in Minnesota, through frozen ice and way too much snow for my liking this year, the sun is actually nurturing those seeds in the ground we can't see.
Right.
It's in the dark of a womb that babies grow.
Right.
It is in the dark we rejuvenate, plants grow, our cells restore and turn over. So embrace the dark as you would embrace the light, and your inner light in the dark is actually always on.
Well, we have about 4 minutes before we end the show. I just want to touch on what is the benefit, or let me rephrase this. How does living out your full potential benefit others? I'd like to just end with that.
Yeah. So many of us were taught to raise what can we get from life? What can we go after for in life? I think one of the greatest benefits of shining the truth of who we are, whether we are, no matter what role you're in, because I truly believe every role is vital. It's a spoke on the wheel, and we can't do it without everyone. So I don't care what your role is. But the benefit is when you are radiating your life, when you wake up in the morning and say, thank you for this gifted day. When you say, I'm just going to choose to shine today and lead from love, even if that person is a jerk and they're having a messy moment. This is a vibratory world. You cast one stone of light, of hope, of belief, it ripples out, literally, we know, across the world now. Data is even proving that. So that I used to believe that and used to be thought of as woo-woo, but now we actually know that to be true. So the benefit is you will live your legacy every day. We don't leave it, we live it each day. You're going to change somebody's life in ways you can't even imagine. And fundamentally, you and I and your listeners, we are the creators of the humanity that we know is possible. So my bet's on us. Let's do this.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy talking to you today. And if you'd like to get Jeanine Thompson's book, 911 from Your Soul, you can go to Amazon or anywhere their books are sold, and you can pre-order it, or you can order it if it's not at that particular bookstore. So 911 from Your Soul by Jeanine Thompson. And would you like to talk a little bit about, we have about a minute left, talk a little bit about how somebody could get you as a speaker or as a coach?
Yeah.
How can they get in contact with you for those?
Yes, well, you can contact me on my website, JeaninneThompson.net, Jeanine, Thompson.net. And there's a contact page. And whether you want to talk about possible inspirational speech or performance speech, I've got quite a range in speaking, or you want to do some coaching work, or honestly, you just have a question from today. I would love to hear from you, because I do these podcasts because I believe, and I have since I was a therapist, I believe in our innate potential. It isn't that we have to discover it. It's been there all along. We just have to get the layers of gunk away.
Thank you so much. And if you're looking to get in touch with me, you can go to my website, executivefunctioncoachaz.com. You can subscribe to our magazine. The next issue comes out on the 10th of this month. So if you'd like a copy, make sure you subscribe. And if you're interested in coaching with me, you can go to my website once again and contact me directly through there, and you can get a free consultation. And I just want to quickly give a shout out to everyone who's listening. Without you, this would not be possible. So thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
All right. Nicely done. Good show. We're all clear.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Bye,
I'm going
Matt.
to jump out, but you both have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
Wait.
Bye-bye.